The whole project is I just about 6 months ago I just started to talk to some people of the cinema of any major, like the cinematographer, sound guy, set designer, actor, producers, and I put these talks all together. I just posted some of them on Instagram and YouTube, and I want to just help people from the indie filmmakers or cinema lovers or media makers, which they don't have any access to the any school, any information of what's going on in the cinema, and these talks would be helpful for them.
Be careful, because I think the microphone of your headphone set is scratching on your t-shirt.
Yes.
Right. And when you move, I hear like, it's my professional.
I know.
behavior.
This is the old problem.
The lab is not correct.
The lab problem. I do also sound on location, as you may know. Always I have a problem with scratching the lavalier mics. This is
part of the
part
of the bird, the sound recorder, to understand all the the maximum scratching. Now, so what do you want to know? So you've been watching Annette?
Yes, I'm still working on it.
It's been released in Iran,
and some of
you watched it on Amazon.
No. I'm pulling together and editing these talks, because there is some part of, for example, like these conversations, which is not useful for the audience, and then I just try to concise and be useful. I just cut some of.
You sent to me the list of questions. We need 3 days to discuss all of this.
So we try to be quick.
Well, okay, I follow you.
Thank you very much. First, it's really my pleasure talking to some professional like you, and you don't know how I was eager to start this conversation. From last night I was counting time to talk with you.
That's nice.
Yeah, actually, I watched Annette, and it was really an amazing movie. By the way, although I didn't like musical movies, but I liked some kind of musical movies, like things Rob Marshall did, like the La La Land from the Dimir Shazam, and also the Annette. I really liked it.
So it's Annette is a different world to me. I mean, it's not like properly what we expect from a musical. It's far different. It's far different for different reasons. I think it's far different because culturally, Leo's character doesn't come from. He's not American, although he has the American nationality from his mother, but he's not properly culturally American. And French cinema has a different way of dreaming in cinema. So I guess it was interesting. I'm really talking on behalf of, not on behalf of the director, but I'm really talking, it's a personal sensitivity and personal understanding of what I've been experiencing with Leos. And I'm much interested in his cinema because it brings to me a lot of questions. And I'm a little bit astonished by the fact that today, even film critics look at films and say, I like this and I don't like this. And sometimes it should be like this. We should accept the taste of one critics of another. And my personal experience, and now I've been working with Leos for 10 years, is the same with what I have with good literature. I mean, when I don't understand, I say, why is it like that? Why does it treat the subject like this? Why did he choose to film it like this? And for the sound, it's the same. I mean, if you are watching a musical and you say, why is the treatment different than American movie? Why it's not entertainment, or entertainment is put into crisis by the subject itself, by the character of Adam Driver, and the sound has a role in all of this,
Mhm.
because of course the fact
What kind of
that you
difference?
decide.
What kind of different
The
word?
what?
What kind of different word
Where
are you talking
I
about?
where the main difference with classical musical is the fact that you decide to do everything live, for instance, and to keep the production sound. So this is a commitment of people and stories all together. I mean, French cinema it's more linked to the production sound. It has always been, and there is a political realism and poetical realism which is very specific to French culture, and it's far different than what you can find in US, where the entertainment and the magical of the idealization of the project brings musicals to be the musical we know. Where, I mean, if you take a historical musical as Singing in the Rain, it's very interesting because Singing in the Rain, I've been watching this movie like many, many times, because also with my kids, I've been watching it. And it's so clever. I mean, what it says to the world about this relationship between image and sound, and between this uh, so-called truth of image and the so-called truth of sound, and the lies of image and the lies of sound. But the time you just put one with the other, it's the conversation between image and sound puts the truth into a lie and a lie into a truth. No,
Mhm.
so so this is American world to us, and French world is like more Renoir film, and we are fond of production sound. Even Iranian filmmakers like Abbas Kiarostami have a great public audience in France, because it's also part of this kind of cinema. I mean, it's part of the documentary style, and the words of people is very important. The expression gesture of people in film is really important too. And you have to be like the you have to receive this richness of the personality of the characters of film. So when Leos did this musical, he was not thinking in terms of musical in the American way of thing. He was more, I guess he was more in the preoccupation to be critical to this kind of dream thing you have in US is put into crisis by this French way of looking at things, and to keep the production sound. It's natural for us. I mean, the first thing we think, if you like what an actor is able to do in a specific situation, it's interesting what you get from the production sound, because it's very close to the real and close to the real situation. I mean, you can
It means
rebuild
that
everything.
everything happened on set. You mean?
So everything has happened on set. Everything you hear, we add music after also, but all the instruments you see on screens are playing live, and the actors are acting with all the elements you see on frame. That means that when Simon Elberg is conducting the orchestra while we are going around him, he is really acting with the real orchestra playing, and is really conducting the orchestra. The same when he's singing on stage, like you're starting from the orchestra and you go to the piano, and he's playing the piano. He plays for real the piano. The orchestra is really tuning,
Mm.
and he plays the piano, and he hears himself through an earwig, so we can keep the voice clean. But he's playing what he's playing. You hear what he's playing, and he's playing really. And he sees Marion coming on stage. We end the shot, and we go back to the orchestra, which has been cut on the film. But we go back to the orchestra, and the orchestra is playing all the aria song we hear for the forest scene.
So it should be very tough to recording the sound of this movie.
Well, to record the sound of I mean, sound is always a way to express things. So we need. It's always how do we work? what's the goal. I mean, I'm really focusing all the time on the difference between the finality and the way of reaching the goals we have. So if the goals here are to keep the production sound, that means that we have to prep in order to be able to keep the production sound. That means that we have to prep things very carefully to be able to record good voices, good live interpretation. That means that the interpretation is subject also. It's not only lip sync and performing an image, it's also the way that the actor will act in these conditions and with the influence of all these parameters. I mean, when she's swimming, when she is going to the toilets and smoking a cigarette, she's singing at the same time, and the way she sings is interacting with all the acting she has to do. I love the scene where Adam Driver is sat on the bed and he's singing like he's taking his medicines and drinking water and smoking cigarette, and then after he goes to bed, and all the rhythm he has to find with the gestures is depending on the rhythm of the singing, because he is singing in production sound. And it's not the problem. I mean, we know we could dub that, but it's not interesting to dub it. What is interesting is the way that he finds all these gesture while he's singing.
How could you think these kind of things? The gesture and the music, which is adding in post
it's only
production.
the way. It's only the way. No, we didn't do almost nothing on that in post production. I mean, it's only a matter of acting. I mean, it's the craziness of Adam Driver and the will of Adam Driver to overcome all these difficulties. And I say Adam Driver, but it's the same for everybody. It's been the same for Simon Elberg, but it's been also the same for Marion Cotillard, and it's been the same for all the small cast. I mean, even the policemen, when they do the interrogation room, they all sing together. I mean, it's completely possible. We only did 1 day of dubbing with Adam Driver and 1 day of dubbing with Marion Cotillard, and that's it for the whole film.
Mhm. That's great. That's really great. Okay, so first, could you just briefly tell me about yourself, and then we just come back to the Annette.
So briefly, I've been studying cinema in a national film school in France called Louis Lumière, which is one of the good film school. A bit in the different film school we have, it's the more technical one, I would say. But it has a great a good point that it's much transversality inside this school. I mean, you are sharing we are 16 students in this school in sound, and we are sharing all the different kind of sound approach we can have, like radio, film, music, broadcast. So we do a lot of different things. So we are not very strong as it's not very cultural project to study in this school. It's more technical, but the transversality brings you to have like good possibilities for handling very various situations, like live situations, broadcast situations, and you have a certain pleasure to exploit that. I mean, all what I learned from the music studios and stuff like that, which I never did again after, was very helpful for me in all these music situations, for instance, because I learned a lot of things from this formation, which is less cinema than the other school. It's more, there is a wider coverage of all
I know.
you can have with sound. So first I did this, and then after, when I was out of school, I was my girlfriend was in the fine art school, and so I followed her in the fine art school, and I was following lessons in art history. And so I decided to continue my studies just to make like a master in art history, and I studied documentary photography. That was lessons about documentary dimension in art. So it was rather putting in light the political side of the artistic expression of the artists. So that was really interesting for me because cinema was at the center of that. Also documentary cinema, like for instance, a lot of different kind of cinemas you can find from. Strawberry and I discovered a lot of things. René, Amos Gitaï, a lot of directors.
Hmm.
Some of the directors I've been working with later. So it's very strange. For instance, Amos Gitaï, I did one film with Amos Gitaï, and so it was very interesting to me that to have this to be awakened by this political commitment of the artistic world, and it gave me a way to focus on a more intellectual cinema, maybe a more authorial, more exigent cinema in terms of culturally speaking.
Which
And also it brought me
most mostly French people are known for us as a intellectual movies, and intellectual art.
that's good.
Yeah.
I feel it's good.
you
We
know
have the same relationship with iron,
I
We have
always,
all the intellectual coming from
yeah,
iron.
yeah. One of my favorite movies was French, which name was La Salamander. It's kind of
The Alain Tanner,
it was really
a
it was
black
really
and white movie,
black,
a
like
black and white movie.
black and
It's a
white
Swiss
one.
movie. It's
Yeah,
a Swiss movie. It's a very beautiful movie.
a beautiful movie. I really
Mm,
like it. Kind of intellectual also.
It's from Alain Tanner.
It had a dialogue. There was a taxman came to the character
I
and said
lost
that
you. I lost you. It's cool.
there was a taxman in the movie. There was a taxman came to the character and said that you have to pay your tax. And the main character said that if there was a communist, you would lose your job because there wouldn't be any tax. Yeah,
Right.
that dialogue was
No,
really
no, no, no.
critical.
This is a beautiful movie. I love this film.
Yeah.
So
So
after this fine arts, I started to work on different kind of films and always try to stick to a network I was looking for. Can you hear me? It's
yeah,
okay. Yeah,
I
okay.
can hear you.
So
And what was your favorite
and
project
about my favorite project, it's difficult not to say Annette because Annette, it was huge
recently?
for me. Why Annette was the biggest commitment for me as a sound man, and also it's a miracle of cinema for me. So, but what I think is, I mean, it's very nice when you feel that there is a coherence between what you've been doing before and then we are achieving now. It's like you are writing your personal story, and all the meeting of all the person. Obviously, some of the film I did are less interesting than others, and some are um, great work of art, and some are more commercials and so. But
But
I
there's
mean,
always some highlights. There is
all
some
the
highlights.
all the per- all the way you're working through all this project makes sense, to me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have done like Annette like I did if it was not, the chain of different experience that was put together and coming from some short film I've been doing like 20 years ago, where I was dealing with music in production sound, with actors talking in a nightclub, for instance. That was to me a very good experience, although it was a short film. It was a very nice experience because it put my mind into some kind of possibilities
Mhm.
that after you just re-explore another project. So that chain of projects makes sense to me.
I think the Annette was the toughest project also for you. Yeah, am I
It's the
right?
toughest, and it's the toughest on the sense that it's the biggest one. But in another hand, it's very well handled by Leos and the production. I mean, we were really well organized. I mean, if you know, sometimes you do film, and it's much more difficult because you are doing like one step forward and two step backwards. And if you take risk with the director on something, and you have to follow the risk of the actor, of the director, if the step backward leave you like naked alone in front of people, it's very, very embarrassing, you know, because you are not able to achieve completely what was supposed to be achieved.
Mhm,
So the very good thing working with Leos Carax is that he takes a lot of risk with you. He pushes you so you can take risk with him, but you are never alone.
mhm. And how was your
But
experience working with, for example, like someone like Adam Driver, which is now we can call him celebrity. He's very famous. He's very professional. How's working with some kind of professional actors like him?
well, I mean, you said the right word because it's not the point that the guy is a celebrity. I mean, celebrity can be a really can really be nothing. Only problems. I mean, like bodyguards and stuff and money. The problem with Adam Driver is not a celebrity. He's a super hardworking person. I mean, he's very, very strong. I mean, he asks you to be at his level. So he makes his own route on a project, and you have to follow exactly that kind of exigence he has. And I mean, I was deeply following Leos on his needs, and he was respecting that very much. We didn't talk much because he doesn't talk much to people on set. He just comes on set, do his things, and after he goes back, and he's very focused on what he has to do. He can be really nice too. I mean, it's not the problem. The problem is just he has to guarantee exactly what is here to make on set and to produce for film. I mean, is it's a real commitment for him to be in a role like this. So to me, it was only pleasure. It was only pleasure because what he did, except that it's almost all what I did was coming from what he did, so his performance. And it was the same for Adam, for Simon Elberg and Marion Cotillard. So I feel really humble in front of what they are doing. I mean, I'm only like getting the thing, the work they've been doing, and I try to manage my own personal difficulties, and there were many on set with what he needed, and sometimes maybe I was not close enough to him, and I think if I would meet him again on another project, I would try to stick much more on what he needs, because he needs to be accompanied on his own exigency. Here I had to balance the whole thing because he was like alone, like a tiger in a cage, you know.
Mhm.
And I was also handling this orchestral dimension of the film. So I was trying to balance the two of them. And the monologue scene is very representative of this because he is talking with his microphone, and it's taken in his own intimacy with the microphone. So I had to follow exactly what he was doing to send him a feedback of his microphone for him on the loudspeaker, and at the
That
same time live
that
we have
microphone
all
was
the audience.
recording. That microphone was recording for real.
Yes, it's all live.
Ah.
So everything what he does with the acting is coming from basically with the acting he does with the microphone. And he was listening carefully to what was doing the microphone on set, on stage. So he could really explore the breathing and manipulating the microphone and doing slapping the microphone and doing the heartbeats. And I was pushing on the very limit of the level before doing like the Larsen
Yeah, yeah, I know.
thing. So he could hear even very, very small details of what he was doing, and he was asking me like higher level, low down, higher. He was giving me indications when it was not good enough, and I was to follow exactly with precision what he was needing to go at the max of what he was doing on set. And at the same time, I had the reality of what I was handling on the other side. That was all the audience with like 200 person yelling, singing, and live at this time. So I have like 30 microphones spread in the public, in the audience, and I was recording on another machine, mixing all together, all those two different spaces.
Oh my God.
I was quite schizophrenic on that day.
That 30 mic that 30 microphone, what's planting or no? You just mic up everybody.
No, it was a mixed combination. Some of them were loud, and some other I had like small microphone on a wooden Apple
Planting.
box, and I gave the microphone to, because we had like 30 lead singers to have the extras to sing in a good way, good rhythm, and these 30 were trained with the musical notes. So I gave to these 30 singers planting microphone, but on small Apple box, so they could move with it. So if they change position, they could change position with the microphone, and I was getting always their voice. I didn't have just to check the position of my microphone. Just everybody is the same singer on the same track, so they could do many pass for VFX, and it's always the same leader singer that you mix together for the different lines.
And by mixing up dynamic microphone, which Adam Driver had, and the other one, which was Love, which is condenser, how could mix these together, which sounds natural,
Because I was sending in loudspeakers the voice of Adam in the ballroom, so everybody could listen to what Adam Driver was saying through the loudspeakers. So I was recording also the loudspeakers and the acoustics of the ballroom, and I have also microphones on boom to record both public and stage. And everybody had the earwigs, so they could hear the music playback through the earwigs. And
Okay.
when even the chorus girls on stage, they sing live.
The core.
Yeah, that's why I put the.
They had the dynamic microphone too.
No, I put on the chorus girl. I put the AKG C 414, and I wanted like studio microphones for that, and that was a big deal because when we rehearsed in the scene, Adam Driver is going from back to stage, and at what certain point he was supposed to grab one of the chorus girls' microphone and to start singing with the chorus girls' microphone. But I didn't want to find microphones, dynamic microphones for them, because I wanted to find microphones that were recording voices more like studio style. So to make a kind of in between a music recording and a live stage recording. So that's why I used these microphones, and I had to find something that was cool to film also, because very often this dynamic microphone is very nasty on camera. So we had to find something really nice for the look of the film. So I proposed to Leo's this golden side microphone, and he wanted the golden side from toward us, toward the camera. So I have to put it omnidirectional, so I have the microphone on contrary, and I can record the chorus girl as well. So it's all
from everywhere.
It's all full of inventions like that. But was remaining to me the second part of the show, where he was grabbing this microphone to talk, and here I had the idea to ask him if he could take the microphone backstage of the announcer we see at the beginning, and this could be a wireless microphone, so you don't have to deal with neither with the wire nor with the noise of the electric self-powered microphone. It was an handheld microphone, so I had to find always this kind of solution, to make it, because all this scene of the monologue is it's like 4 camera shot, and it's basically a one shot scene. I mean, it's re-edited after, and we did like extra shots for the editing, but the main performance Adam did was with the audience, and the audience is really yelling at him and really singing, and and it's a mix between all these different shots. And also we added after extra singing, and also we recorded a lot of wild tracks on set
Oh,
with the
that was
audience.
a great
And
job.
that's why when when people feel embarrassed because the show is not going the right way, the right direction. I mean, it's becoming very cynical, very sarcastical, and very embarrassing in the kind of jokes he has, and all these sounds of the presence of the audience. I mean, the point of view we have is the one of the audience, which feels always more embarrassed by that guy is becoming a loser at that time. I mean, it's kind of collapse of Hollywood, this scene. And to me it was very important in the scene to be able to record real good reaction with the audience. I mean, to feel exactly this shift from the classical audience to a very critical audience, and to bring the audience from the laughters, classical laughters we hear in every musical or stand-up scene, to something that is the audience is wondering what is happening. I mean, this is very rare to do this sound. So we spend a lot of time to record extra sound that was
It
precisely not the classical sound of laughter and cheering and so.
it means that, yeah, you're just going from word of the doing in a studio and live. Just taking audience from studio to live, which is wondering that if it is for real or no. It's just in a post production. It just all happened
Ah,
in the studio.
it's exactly the subject of the first scene.
Mhm.
It's exactly what tells the first scene we have in the film. So may we start? We start with the origin of the project, the Sparks band playing live his music in the Village Studio in Los Angeles. And after the guy starts speak, Russell starts to speak, to sing, but he just leaves the studio booth. He goes in the corridors of the studio. He meets up with Marion and Adam Driver, and they still sing live. It's all live. It's all production sound, and the music is still recorded live in the studio, while we are following the actors with a one-shot scene with a Steadicam, and we go out of the studio and we go down Santa Monica Boulevard down to the second block, and we end up the singing in the second block,
Mhm.
and it's all live. It's one-shot scene.
Oh, it's
But
really.
it tells exactly the story of the film. I mean, we are starting from the music. The music of the spark will become the script of the film, and the music of the film, which is also recorded live when we see the instruments. It's the same fork Y, that brings us to the two different layers. There is the music and the script and the acting and the cinema. That means the film from the Sparks and the film from Leos. And after we follow these singers becoming part or giving the inspiration of the cast that is taking from them the music and the lyrics, and they put on the jacket and they just go. Adam on his motorbike and becomes Henry, and Marion comes in his SUV and becomes Anne, and she goes to the opera while he goes to do for his monologue. So it's completely written like that.
Uh,
I
what
mean,
uh, what kind of recorder or mixer did you use? Because you had so many line, like 30,
I did
30 microphone on for audiences, and for Adam drivers, so many microphones for the core group. What kind of equipment did
I did
you?
everything. It's not because I'm French, but I've been working for almost 20 years now with the Cantar, which is the Atom
X3
recorder.
Conta X3.
Now I have the X3, yes, but I started with the X1, and I knew now he's dead, and but I knew very well the inventor of the Cantar, and it was very particular for us because it was very close to the French cultural story. I mean, it's close to direct cinema. This person was knowing Godard, he was knowing the Mailey brothers. He was close to all this direct cinema wave we had, and also Nouvelle Vague, and so it was a bit of the story of cinema for us. And he was a very exceptional inventor. To me, he reminded me a lot Doc in Back to the Future. With the hairs like that and
Yeah.
always inventing stuff. It was a bit like Doc. And he was a kind of person we could phone and say, I thought of something on the machine. Maybe we could do like that, and with this combination of buttons, we could do that. And he was able to change the thing even for us, even for meeting our needs. I mean, he
Modifying.
made. Wow, he was modifying a lot of things. So he was very eager to understand that basically what we were doing was to a gesture before being a technical accompaniment. It was a
You know,
gesture.
to be honest, recently I really fall in love with Contour X3.
No, the Kantar is amazing. I mean, it's the only machine you have which is so open
Just
to different kind of.
let me show you. I just kept its
No,
picture.
I'm really in love with Kantar. I can't. I'm talking as a super
Yeah,
radical.
this is it, and this is
Yeah, of
Contour
course.
and its package.
But I've been working with my Kantar. Every time I use it, I think about Jean-Pierre Boviala, just the inventor. And I said how clever he was to understand the fact that we are using this machine with hands and to adapt it with the hands and mind of the. And so for Annette, it was very important for me to work with the Kantar. And I worked also with the Kantar on Oli Motors because you can just unfold. You can start with a very simple gesture and say, okay, what we are supposed to do now is much more complicated, but you can use it in the same basis and just unfold the way you're working to a larger scale, but following the same philosophy. I mean, this machine is really nice to use because you are always sticking to a cinema gesture.
Mhm. And you put these old lines like too many cables. It would be too many cables, too
Oh,
many
I've been using
transmitter.
Dante. I've been using Dante a lot. So that was very helpful. First of all, for all the playback rig, for all the communication between the playback rig we had like a cart with the Pro Tools and another Conta on it. And the guy was using the Dante to communicate between his Conta and his Pro Tools. And I could just get back from his machine my needs and send to him what I needed. I needed him to record on the Pro Tools as a playlist. So he was recording in front of the playback different playlist with always the clap, the idea of the shot and the the soundtrack of what I was recording, and a guide track, I mean, on the playlist. So
Right,
we
right.
were able to record eventually wild tracks, resending what we had recorded of the lines if we needed
The
to record
mixing
them.
of them.
Yeah, the mixing. And it was very convenient for us. So I had some of his tracks on my recorder all the time, and he had some of my tracks on the recorder all the time. So we could handle in post production to be sure to find back exactly what we needed for the editor to edit correctly with the music and the lyrics and stuff like that.
No, no, for connecting these microphones like transmitters.
Now for all the labs, I've been using very simple Visicom Octopack. So I had like in a very compact slot, I had like 24 labs. So I put that on my second card, my
Mhm.
assistant card, and I was doing the wiring depending on my needs. But this was very roots. It was not super. It was not broadcast, because why I used I could have gone to other machines, more larger scale project, but the specificity of Annette is like you're doing sometimes scene on a bicycle, intimate scenes, scenes. So I didn't want to change my equipment from one scene to another because we are going from a scene in a car, from a scene in a theater with 200
Too many
extras.
people.
So I had to find a way to fold and unfold my system in order to keep exactly the same nutshell
Mhm.
all the time.
Also,
So the
maybe you lost the records. For example, in one scene which is recorded with different equipments, maybe it doesn't match to another scene. Maybe
where there is this, but
if you
to me,
decided
the rhythm sound.
if you decided to change the equipment, so maybe you lost this
Well, no,
constantly.
this was possible also because I didn't have time for this. No, it was very basic. It was very pragmatical. The flow of working was so quick, even if we've been shooting for 16 weeks, but it was every day. It was a new scene, and the scene was the core of the scene was the same setup, and I was unfolding the possibility or folding the possibility to be lighter depending on the situation. But the with the workflow with the post production was exactly the same. So everything was transparent. So on that,
Mhm.
sometimes you had like 48 tracks, sometimes you have like 4 tracks, sometimes you know, two. But I did for the whole film. I did like a 6-track mix down. I had a couple of I did a stereo mix down of all the direct sound, a stereo mix down of the music post fader with the adjusted level, and I did a second mix down coming from my extra machine. That was another X3 where I was recording all the mess, all the extra singers, and all the
With
orchestra
that machine.
playbacks and so. So all the workflow post production chain was set up on these 6 tracks. That was 3 pairs of stereo tracks, and we did the whole editing with these 6 tracks. That is quite heavy for a sound editor, for an editor, a film editor. But we did the whole film like that, and it was very important for us to have this. And they could get back from that, from the playback counter. They could get back also the click track.
Mhm.
That was very helpful for them because if they had to edit like 2 separate shots, they knew how to respect the rhythm of the shots, so they could just edit with the click for a small thing like that. So for this, we were helped also with Marius De Vries, who was the music
Mhm.
executive producer who worked on La La Land as well, a film
Mhm.
like that.
Uh,
And it was very important for us to also to have the references what we usually do when we do a musical.
okay, just going faster. Uh, let's just this is the general talk about the sound. The second part, just could you tell me more about the sound department? What is the sound
In
department? Just get
France,
it. Yes, yes, it's France.
the way we work in France,
Yes, the way you're working in France.
ouais. Well, France, I don't know exactly if it's the political story or what, but France is the country where was invented cinema, and it was invented through 2 figures, Louis Lumière and Méliès. So we had these 2 sides of cinema, and the one who won a little bit more is the Louis Lumière side, which is more documentary and more link on production sound. The onirical side is more on Méliès. But the clever, the intelligence of Leos Carax is also to mix 2 of them, doing the Méliès world in production sound. It's a bit a mix between the 2 stories of the same. And this, I feel really lucky for me to work also with a director with more on the Méliès side, which is very rare in France. You don't have so many dreamers. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not the same. Maybe it's the political story of France, maybe it's the cultural story of France. But for instance, if you go to Italy, if you go to I don't know, Spain, if you go to US, if you go to a lot of other world are more on this arena. The Russian story of cinema is completely onirical, not onirical, but there is a kind of fantastic happening, maybe because the fiction of the real is not that easy, so you have to find a more. I mean, what I said to Abbas Kiarostami, to us it sounds really French.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if
yeah.
all the irony directors work in the same kind of idea, but this kind of realism is very moving for us. And a lot of directors we have from the world coming to France and co-produce often by France, and also because there is the Festival de Cannes, are showing this kind of production films coming from Korea, coming from Thailand, yeah. And it's for us, it's very friendly. I mean, aesthetically, we are more friendly from
Like
that.
Asghar Farhadi also did cooperative with France, the Memento picture.
Who?
Asghar Farhadi.
Ah, well, yes, of course. Or with Germany.
No,
No,
no, no, no, no.
no, it's co-produced by. Well, it's co-produced by.
With Memento picture.
Ici Faraday, ouais, Memento, c'est what's
Like
her name
the
again?
film was the name was film
Ah, ouais,
was
of course.
the past which happened in
Ouais, ouais, no,
France.
of course, because of in fact, the girl from Memento is Alpha Rani right now. I don't know. It's the Panay's wife.
Ah,
No,
Panay's daughter.
Panay's daughter. She
Yeah,
is the girl from a Memento film, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah.
Huh?
Panay's daughter.
And so the sound team here has a kind of more powerful position than in many other countries, because a lot of people is used to deal with the production sounds from ever. So electricians, grips, camera crews, they are really used to work hard to reduce the noise on set. And sometimes we have directors very focused on the quality of the production sound. Also because of another matter, it's not only a matter of style; it's a matter of acting. We have a school of acting in France, and maybe for the same reason I was talking before, but it's basically the actor. The problem is that we are on a school where actors are much more based on their own character, their own personality. All the nouvelle vague is made on that, but it's not only the nouvelle vague. You have that before, like when you watch the old French films like Marcel Carnet, Sacha Guitry. I
Claude
mean, actors
Chabrol.
are also persons. The characters is based on characters, but it's also based on persons and the way that you film the person. So it's very common for us to shoot many takes with the actors, so they can just bring something out of them, and they take time to develop that and to do their own proposal for that. And this can be really strange for foreign directors. For instance, I've been working with the Japanese director Kyoshi Kurosawa, and Kyoshi Kurosawa, he was explaining to us that he was doing like only two rehearsal and two takes, and then after was going to another scene. And for the actors, it was really strange because the French actors need to wake up, they need time to find their position, the good rhythm with the other. It's a matter of alchemy. It's very strange.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not laziness. It's not. It can be laziness also, but it's not laziness. It's more like you need time to understand what's the music of the scene. I mean, you have to
I
bring
know.
it and you have to find it all together with the other actors in the same situation. So, and this is very hard for foreign directors to get used to, because American do another way, Russian they do another way. It's completely different acting schools. Even somebody like Adam Driver, he was astonished at the fact that we were recording footsteps and we were not re-recording the lines, because in France we are not used to re-record the lines, because it's always different. What do the actors? So you wait for the post-production and say, if there is a problem with the production time, we just do dubbing with lip sync, and it will be better like that. But in fact, Adam Driver is right in this way of working, because Americans are able to reproduce several times exactly the same acting with the feeling that it's never the same acting.
So it meant
And
that in France, do you record sound effects and follies on set, or you do it in post production at studio?
no, we are doing everything after. What we do now, sometimes we do Foley on location, but we do it always after editing because otherwise it's too much. What we do sometimes is just to keep the production sound. We do some wall tracks of footsteps and stuff when it's useful, so you can mix two takes at the same time using the production sound, and you are not ruined by the fact that on one shot there is a footsteps, on the other one there is no footsteps. So you can just add the right footsteps to be able to cross the two production sound and make it usable like that.
So you don't record
Sometimes the
follies and sound effects on set.
No, not exactly. We record in the real situation what we need from the real situation to edit with the dialogues, to edit with the dialogues all the noises that make the situation. I mean, when we do the sound in France, usually it's not exactly like you have the dialogues super clean and after we do everything. You pay attention on the situations. I mean, if I'm recording the sound of a film and we are inside an apartment, the footstep of one person and the other is interesting because it tells much also of the situation. If somebody walks slowly, or uh, or if somebody is a bit like heavy in the situation, and you can hear with the footstep, for instance, like a judge coming with the security of the judge, he can have like a heavyweight way of walking,
Mhm.
and maybe this footstep is much more interesting and in confront of what we'll do a Foley after. You have the right acoustics of the place, you have the right weight of the actors, you have the right shoes, you have everything. So sometimes, and it's strange, it may sound strange for foreign actors, for example, for a foreign director, not Adam because he's very clever, but and he understands that we are doing things differently. But in US, nobody does that because it's useless for people. They say no dialogue, no sound. I mean, it's very basic. It's only a matter of sound. I mean, you can do everything after, you do it everything after, and everything's for image. It's not true for every
This
director. For instance, Tarantino loves production sound. He
this
wants
is
to
one of
keep
my
a
problem. I had an experience working with a Canadian director, and uh, and also the other directors. Uh, there was a typical sentence. They all said that we do it on post.
way.
For example, I said that, okay, this is not correct, we have some noises, for example, or the way your actor or actresses does is not good. You said that, okay, no
Way.
problem, we do it on post.
Now this is terrible. I mean, people who are always thinking you can fix it. That's impossible. My behavior now is to do more provocation. Now I'm saying, okay, first you don't do it in post. Now you have to think you do it in pre-production. So that means that everything you do in pre-production allows you to insert, to put in the film a sound ideas and sound consideration that make easier your work on set and that reduce the need in post-production, not taking more space on the on the
What
on the
to do in
production.
pre-production? What to do? What is the duty?
Just to share what is the need of the film in terms of sound. I mean, if you need, for instance, to have the footsteps clean because you cannot redo all the footsteps, that means that the art department has to find location with good floors. Or if they do like bad combination like day for night situation in places that you are not able to keep the sound, it's very problematic. So if people talk about what they want to do and you are here, and if you talk about sound while they are planning their way of working on the film, if they can just set up their mind in a way that it's better for you doing a choice instead of another, it's better for everybody.
And like
Otherwise,
wardrobe, for example, wardrobe.
but for I can give you an example for this day for night situation. So you say, okay, this it's no problem. We can do it in a day for night, and you are here. You say day for night, but wait, we are here. And there are a lot of insects, so we will have the night insects. while we are recording daytime scenes, and when we are recording nighttime scenes, we'll hear like the roosters and the stuff. So the production sound will be okay. So maybe we have to find another location, because it's true, it doesn't have to be set up in this room. It's day for night. It can be in another place.
Because
So
the movie shows that this is day, but the real world is night, and we have so insects sounds, and it can be removed.
yes, so you can keep that. So another thing I experienced once, I did a film. It was called Taj Mahal, and it was about a terrorist attack in the hotel. And we were shooting the half of the film in India, in Mumbai, and we were filming all the exteriors in India. And after, we went back to France and we built the whole hotel room in a studio, and we need to film from the balcony of the room. So we need to be high enough to have the perspective to film what is going on downstairs, also on the balcony under the next story down on the hotel, because there were like conversation from one balcony to the other. So we have to understand how to figure that. And as the film for 5 weeks was shot in this hotel room, I was like here 6 months before starting the film to say, yes, but what do we want to do? Because if we are 5 weeks here, it's not like we can build the floor of this construction on facilities for being higher, because it would crack a lot. So we had to find a studio with a swimming pool deep enough so we can build the apartment on the good floor, so we don't have the crack in the floor, but we still have the perspective to shoot down with the good.
At the bottom of the board.
And so, I mean, it was better for everybody to think in terms. If I was not there at this time, maybe nobody would have asked the question of that, and the art department would have said, "Well, the cheaper is doing this," and it was maybe also the easier for him, but it would have become maybe a total mess during the shooting, because I would have come and said, "Well, okay, we have to dub everything," and it's always an extra cost to dub everything.
Mhm.
Plus, you lose some of the spontaneity of the actors. In France, some of the directors really don't like to dub the actors, huh? Even in US now.
What's the problem you found out for the sound department, for example? Anything that you think that this is the problem, this is the obstacle?
We have very strange voices in France. Like, people can really speak very low, like almost breathing. So for us, it's very difficult, because we are used to keep all the production sound, and we are used to production sound, and sometimes it's really shit what we hear. So this is very difficult, and you have like people say, you can fix that in post. Where here people say, but we do have labs. It's okay. I say, no, it's not okay. I mean,
You
I
know
feel
what?
I hear more.
I had this
The noise of
experience.
the closest. Huh?
I had this
Wait, I just.
experience. I
So
had
you
a
had a problem?
yeah, I had a problem. There was a scene. There was a two-shot scene, and one of the actor had a has very bass sound. He was very loud, and his sound was very strong. And the other one was his sound was baritone. He was very low, and also he was talking like whispering, like yeah, it was like whispering. And I had a too much contrast on these two sound, because one of them uh, just talked very loudly, not loudly, very strong, and the other one just talked like whispering. And the director was a girl. I told her, if you like this kind of conversation, okay, this is my duty to record this sound. But if you don't want it, this is not good, because they have so much contrast. One of them talking so strong, and the other one talks so weak and and
And you
in
don't
low
hear.
level. We can hear it. And also he doesn't have lip sync because he had a mustache, we couldn't see his lips. And he said to the actor, okay, just bring up your level, and just we have to have your sound. That was my experience. But sometimes they say that no, no, this is the sense of the actor. I don't want to interfere, or something like that.
I experienced that once, and it was a young director, and I came and told him, the actress is not speaking loud enough. And he said, "Oh yeah, but it's the fragility." And I just slapped him on the shoulder, and I said, you can say whatever you want, but what I hear is no good. So if you want to keep it, she has to speak louder.
Also, just one of my experience was that movie I told you, that Canadian director. We were shooting on Georgia, and there was a fight scene. Three guys were fighting. That guys, two lady with one guy, and there was one wife and husband fighting, and the other one was a friend of the lady. And I told the director, just could you tell your actors uh, when they are fighting and say dialogue, just have a 1 second, uh, 1 second silence, so we can keep these dialogues separately, not
Mhm.
overlap each other. Because when they are fighting and just talking and they are overlapping each other, the sound wouldn't be can can't
And
be
sometimes,
can't
well,
be
sometimes
edited
the
in
acting
post.
is not good because of the effort, and so sometimes when it's very physical on screen, people have to deal with framing instead of sound. And here to record wild tracks on set sometimes is very good
Yeah, he
because you
said that
just have the same
it's
energy,
more
the same magic.
natural. He said that it's more natural to talking and overlapping each other, and
Sometimes it works, huh? I'm not. I'm really trying to trust very much the directors I'm working with. And I like very much taking risk with them. And sometimes I feel better with very experienced director than first films because of that. Because I know that people are more is more conscious, has a bigger consciousness of what kind of risk they're taking. And when somebody, for instance, with Leo Carax, is perfect because he is the first person to understand the kind of risk he takes. Because even if he, in a humble way, ask people his advices, and very often is yet a very good idea of what he can do or cannot do. I mean, he just explored the subject before you, and he just most of the time trying to understand if some of the way of doing something he missed while he was thinking of the possibility of talking to other people to just have like the confirmation or information of what you're doing and what you can do in this situation. For instance, the situation with Simon Elberg that conducting, talking to the camera while he's conducting the orchestra playing for real. I just asked to a real conductor if it was feasible or not before saying to Leos, I think you can do that. I really needed to have the experience of a director to tell me, yes, of course, it happens that while they are playing, I just say something. What I didn't understand, it was Simon Elberg was speaking so loud to the cameras, and so I have to
bring
work
down
with
the
the
level.
orchestra to go down and down and down and down, and I trying to reach the point that it looks like the musicians try to understand what he says. And after we're in the back, they just express themselves in a good way, and you have this contrast between the words of the conductor expressing his own feeling to the camera and his thoughts to the camera, and we are like the musicians trying to find the explanation of this melancholy we hear in the music. And after, when you go back in the music releases itself, and yeah, you have no words, and you have only the music expressing itself as melancholy.
Mhm.
So here it's a very good example of the kind of challenge we have in our French mythology.
Uh,
To use things.
what is your relationship between you as a sound department with the camera department? Because there is always some
On
kind
this
of
film,
challenges.
in
Always,
general,
in general, yeah.
now the
Because
problem
there
is
is
that
sometimes I had my one of my own experience was that we had a scene we could only place a boom on one place, and we didn't have any more place to move even because it was very
yeah,
close shot. And the camera department didn't accept to change the lights because we had shadows on scene, and they told us this is your problem, and we told them this is your problem because you have to light some
in France
to
it's far different. In France, it's far different because we need production sound. Everybody knows that we need production sound, so we can go and say, well, we don't have money for dubbing. We don't want to dub. The director wants to keep production sound, so we need the microphone to come here. We have to find a solution. So DOPs are used to have also this as a request from production on one side and from the director on the other side. So sometimes we have to fight, sometimes we have to argue, sometimes we have to deal with difficulties, but in a general way, French DOPs they know how to handle the situation to make it okay to work with and to use like backlights instead of front lights and aesthetically also our concept of the beauty in terms of cinema has been set up also which is different maybe in Italy or Russia, but sometimes we have another way of handling situation also with the SFX, for instance. So we are able to discuss with that, and we have like more trained people like grip. They have special plates they can put on the ground to avoid cracking of the trackings and stuff like that. So it's a bit easier, and we can experience the difference when we work abroad because we are confronted to others experience, and we have to respect that because people has been working even in Italy, people has been working in a different way with sound for so many years, so that you're not the person coming and say, well, you're doing shit job, man. In France we do another way. No, it's not like that, it's like you have to bring people to trust you on the way you're working also because you on their point of view are trying to reach something they are not used to do, and they can make effort for that, but they need to understand you, they need to take the risk to change their use of working, which is very difficult. And in France in particular, I am lucky enough to work with DOPs that love to work with sound because it's the two different complementary materials of a cinema. And in a film like Leo's Carax, it's obvious that sound, cinema, and cinematography, it's a very close story. It needs both of them. So it was a bit particular, Annette, because it was like a kind of silent movie on one side and music a music world on the other way, but it's more psychical. Even if it's production sound, this is the strange aspect of the film. I guess American have much difficulty, for American to see. I mean, Annette, I mean, it's like us when we go to electric stairs, in the metro, and the electric stairs is stop, it's stop, but you are used to go to the elevator to take this new speed, you have. So even if you're aware of the fact that it's blocks, you still have this moment where you expect the stairs to take you up this. And for American, I guess it's the same kind of strangeness, Annette, because it starts in something which is not like the big party. It's usually this comes also from the production sound. And for instance, Caroline Champetier, which is an amazing French DOP, and she really needs to have a close. I've been working a lot with her, and I owe her a lot because she make me meet a lot of good directors and to live a very strong experiences in cinema. And she's typically somebody who is really aware of what is the importance of sound basically for the quality of what are doing the actors. And if somebody is really sensitive to what do an actor, I mean, Darius Konji, for instance, who is working on very big movies like Seven, like a lot of big directors. He did recently, he did Uncut Gems, he did the last Iñárritu movie. This guy is very I mean, he's doing lights. He knows that sound is important. He
Do you
knows
think,
how to
you
set
know,
up things.
as you said at the first of the conversation, you told me you just studied in the university, which was mostly technical. Do you think that sound guys are technique mans or engineer or artists?
Or you have different kind of persons. I mean, in France, it's more common to have somebody who is able to decide also aesthetic matters, and it's a fact that in France maybe we have less than in US the culture of the art director. We are most used to have directors who think themselves as a art director, artistic director. That means that they have conversation with the different person they are working with, and they are able to make their own choices, aesthetic choices in this. Instead, in US, for example, but in China, I guess it's the same. Maybe in Japan it's the same. I don't know, or Russian, maybe it's the same. I don't know. But you have a different person helping, talking with different persons in order to make the thing going in the right direction, man. So you have sound supervisor in US, and you have also art director for the general look of the film. Like when you see Wong Kar-wai movies, you see that Wong Kar-wai is working an art director, which is supervising the whole aesthetic of the film. So he can just deal with the grading person as well as the sound person and some sound supervisor. So in order to bring the film, and the director has only three person to talk to instead of dealing with like 100 person different persons. In France, it's really screw. It's more intimate the way we work. So it's easier for us to take very good aesthetics choices. And now I'm just more and more in the pleasure to also to be involved before before the production, to be able to make choices that are aesthetically chosen by everybody and assumed by everybody. And so I proposed an aesthetic direction so we can just try to go at the end of these aesthetic proposals,
Mhm.
including all the different steps of working, so I can handle after the production. So there is a coherence between the project and the realization of the project. But also you have to be aware of choosing the right person to work in post before starting, ideally to work before you start, so you have yet a feedback from the post production. So when you arrive on the post production moment, you are not confronted to new ideas that can just change completely the direction of the project. Maybe it's better ideas, but if the ideas are new, they need to bring it before the production, not after the production.
How do
Otherwise
you
it's terrible because you are just changing.
how do you choose your gear for project?
The gear is a very important
Like
right.
microphone
it's
and
it's a
recorder.
very important, it's a very important matter because as my friend Caroline said once, and I was really agree with her. She said the most important thing when you start a project and you are preparing a project is the choosing well the gear, the good tools for doing the film. I mean, if you start in the bad basis, it's very difficult after to make the things. If you have the good tool, for her it was choosing the good lens, the good camera, because it's not only the result as an image, it's also the way you handle the tool in itself. You're going to work. I mean, the weight of it, the possibility of it, etc. So to me, uh, I'm starting a new phases now, that I'm trying to change a lot my gears depending on the project. Not the recorder because it's my personal recorder and I have a story with it, but if in fact the microphone and the setup, general setup, sometimes I try to change the lines. For instance, on Annette, I was eager to be closer to a music sensitivity. So I used more DPA microphones, and music microphone were used to record orchestra. So I was interested in using this kind of microphone also on boom. So we also boomed with sometimes Neumann U87 things to have a different kind of sound we have. And for the next movie, for the movie I'm working on at this moment with an Italian director, the guy told to me, well, you can have, I give you carte blanche for the sound, you do whatever you want. The only thing is, I would like you to work with old microphones and stretch microphones. So I said, okay, I was really interested in that because I had experience of natural acoustic Foley recordings for projects, and we were moving with the Foley artist, and microphone we are using not on sets but more on studios for Foley's, like ribbon microphone, stuff like that. And I was full of this experience, and I said, okay, let's try to handle the situation as we are working on a studio. It's completely outside of the film, but let's record everything with ribbon microphone. It's a old fashioned movie. It's between the two wars. We will have like a lot of materials like wood, like wood and mud, and big shoes
And
and
you're gonna do all this on a studio.
No, I did everything on location, but I used several kind of microphones, all ribbon microphones coming from studios and stuff like that. And we just worked with my assistants to fix things into windshield to find solution for working with this kind of microphone, just to produce a sound with much personality. And I guess the sound we did is not the same the sound of everything, because it's between past and contemporary sound,
Mhm.
so I tried just to find a multi-tool to have the quality of the past tools, and it worked
Do, you,
very well.
do you think that the sound quality depends on uh, a gear, or no, the techniques you used for?
But no, the sound quality, there is technique technical parameters. If you are using a lousy gear, obviously the sound you record is not good. It's not very good. The quality of the preamplification is very important.
So gear is
Uh,
important.
I've been using Sonosax preamps for some time, and to me, it's still the best sound ever. Even better than the Contar preamps. I have a Sonosax SCX 62R, which is the only digital recorder with a completely analog mixer, Swiss analog mixer on it, and the sound is just crazy. I mean, it's amazing. And so basically, technically, yes, if you are using a A10 from Audio Limited, the sound obviously is much better than other radio mics, because it's the way it's made, it's better. I mean, the sound is better, it's richer.
Mhm.
After this is the technical side, and the aesthetical side. To me, a good sound is a good understanding of what you have to do. So that means that the gesture you adopt for working is definitely the most important. Sometimes you have to do a lower quality technically because the gesture is better, and you will be better in the film.
Mhm.
So the tool balance between the tools and your mind and the way you're gonna use the tool. I mean, you are the user of the tool, and you are basically
A balance
looking
between
for.
both, that the
Yeah,
techniques, how to use the gears, how to use the rigs, and also the quality of the gear. This is the
yeah,
balance.
it's of course, because you have to. You mean that's what I asked to my assistants to put their mind in the place of my mind, and I put my place in the place of a director's mind to understand what's his need.
The-
So I'm just figuring always what is the finality and the goals, which comes from the direction of the film. I mean, if I was director, I would like to have this, and then after, my intelligence is trying to understand the good way to go to reach the goal, and to ask my assistant to help me doing the same thing with me. So I can be more on the director side, on actor side. So.
I do think that there is affordable, cheap gears, or no way to work with cheap gears.
It's why it's always cheaper and cheaper, but we still have difficulty to have this semi-professional good thing, in particular with microphones, with field microphones, and all the accessories are really expensive. So if you get, I don't understand the success of Rode microphones, for instance, because to me, Rode microphones are still quite expensive and really lousy on the audio quality. And I don't understand exactly the success of that. And it's true that for the microphone, if you want something a little bit better, it's very expensive. In the music world, in the studio world, you find cheap, good microphone now, like Aston microphones, and because people have less money in professional audio, field recording, cinema recording. Everything is very, very expensive, because there is less people to sell the things, so the price are higher. I have the problem that I always try to buy the most expensive thing, because I feel like if I have to buy something once, I want the best one,
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I'm
just
spending a
like
lot of
me, just
money.
like me. I'm really idealistic. I always want the top.
Yeah,
That is
because
always
you're
my
using
problem.
every day. I mean, if you when you're in the house, if you do, if your work are not good, every time you just wake up from your bed, you say, oh, "Why did I did that? It's horrible," You want to
Yeah.
destroy everything.
I don't want to take you too much, because I know it. You want to get lunch and you got tired, and to be honest, I really enjoy talking with you. So that's why it took too long. And I really admire French directors like Jean-Pierre Janet and the Gaspar Noé, and also the Godard, uh, and the other one like Jean-Pierre Melville.
it's
Yeah,
a it's a very large. It's very different
taste,
kinds of directors.
different tastes, and also really uh, one of my role models on cinema is Georges Méliès, because he loved cinema. He just colored every frame because he wanted to show the
It's true.
audiences the colored picture, and that's why I really liked him. And I always say to myself, I like Georges Méliès. He gave everything of himself to the cinema. He just sacrificed,
It's true.
uh, that's
And
why
that's
really
why you love Annette also, because
yeah,
that's Méliès touch
yeah, that's
in
such,
Annette.
the
The puppet king.
uh, Scorsese has a movie named Hugo. Have you seen that movie? It's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
a kind of uh, Georges Méliès life, because I've heard that
No,
uh, Georges Méliès has died just alone on a train station. He was working on a train station like a beggar or something like that.
it was he had like a toys shop.
Toys shop,
The
yes.
problem of Méliès is that he invented something. He understood, Méliès, that because he was like working in fair, in this world of fair entertainment, all the barracks in fairs. So you do magic tricks and stuff like that. And he's the first one that brought cinema, the new technique of cinema, inside this popular entertainment world. And he was not aware of what he was doing, because it started like that. and it became what is now Hollywoodian entertainment.
Because he was
And
he
today,
had the background of the doing magic, something like that.
yes, it was part of a world. It was the epoch. It was the times. It was another kind of popular distraction you can use, and it was contemporary of this time. So it was more like industrial times, and they could invent that. But it went so quick that it became like left behind in the 70s because he didn't have money enough. He
Yeah,
was not strong enough to be able to develop the industrial side of the thing. And that's why he just dropped that, because he was like the relay of one kind of entertainment to another, but he was left behind. And as an artist, he was not recognized until many years after. And he burnt almost everything. Everything was almost destroyed of his production
yeah, I've
because
heard that.
there was a big fire in his in, and he was not
Studio.
thinking in terms of historical production. And so they fought the Cinematheque in France. They fought a lot to find back strange copies. They found copies all over the world because by haphazard it was still one copy of a colored version of the moon getting. And so they did the restoration of all this stuff, and it's
I've
amazing.
heard that
Well,
he had more than 700 products, and most of them was burned.
yeah, it was more like 500 films, and we still have like only 40s of these films or
Unfortunately.
100. But it's very, very. But it's like that, stories like that, huh?
And, one of my fantasies is that I could travel during the time and just fix some things. If
It's a
I
bit the subject. It's a bit the subject of Hugo, huh?
yeah, it's a big subject of
Because
you.
in Hugo, he makes the revival of the workshop, and the way it's filmed, it's fun because it looks like that you are really experiencing what was to be in this workshop at this time.
Yeah,
But I don't like the film too much, I must confess, because for us French, it's very strange to see mixed all this story upside down because it's an American doing something with Europe. So, it was Gare du Nord, and the Gare du Nord is represented like London with people talking with English accent. To us,
oh
it's nonsense.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's very weird for us to see this story, but as always, there are a lot of good, very good things in this film, and I love Concedi anyway. So,
Everyone, here in Iran, we don't have any school for sound department. I don't know why,
oh yeah,
but we don't have. We have to gain everything by ourselves.
yeah.
For mine, I really like cinema, and I really like working in this industry, and I just started from below zero. you know I did all thing by myself, and I try always to gain everything is something
To
more,
build
like
something.
watching tutorial, like it's really difficult, which when you don't have any academic
Any
training,
support? You don't have support.
so you have to gain by yourself,
Right.
just searching on internet, uh, online courses like tutorials, uh, as I can speak English and I can understand English, so I can use English tutorials. But for who they can't talk English, or they can't understand English because this is a second language, they have so much problem. And I always try to work on set, very carefully. And sometimes some producers or directors tell me, you are so sensitive on sounds because you just see wisely what's going on set. And I try always to record backup sound, and I try to anticipate everything happens on scene, like on the documentaries, which is not everything under control, and to get good sound quality and to be happy on post production. Nothing do on the studio. This all happens by working hard, so hard. And that's
Yeah,
why
yeah. Well,
I started this project, because I saw that there's so many people here, they don't have any source, they have nothing, and they just try to.
no, no, but you do very well. Huh? I will be able, if you want, to put you in contact with the School of Cinema Cinéfabrique, because I know very well the director, and it's a very smart school. It's not a fancy school in the way that we have like Femis. It's not Parisian at all, and it's very nice because they are like doing several bridges with other culture. That they went to Yemen, they went to Nigeria, they went to a lot of people, a lot of places, different places, also with Germany and Myanmar, and so I guess it could be very interesting to organize a chat with you and students from this school to just have like contacts, and I don't know what,
Oh
but
yeah, that's great.
it can be really cool for to understand what is your need, you as a son. It's very interesting, I guess, for students to understand exactly, to evaluate also what we have, and what is to fight to get something when you just have to build your own situation, because sometimes here in Paris people really don't is not aware at all of what all the comfort they have, so it's amazing, like we have a like 25 years old kids going out of the school, and they are like still living at their parents, and it's like,
You have
which is
everything
fine
there.
too, but you have everything, and sometimes you're just only complaining on stuffs, and you're just expecting something like to be immediately doing the big films and stuff, which doesn't work like this,
Just two more typical questions, and I don't want to
The
take
two
time.
pictures.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
You're both.
two more. One is what do you have? What's your plan for next 5 years? For these two typical questions.
Next 5 years.
Next 5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
Just the perspective of the future.
Wow, 5 years is much, huh? Even in 2 months, I'm just wondering what what I will be doing in 2 months. 5 years. No, you, uh, my expectation for the five next years is peace to come back a little bit on the world. I cannot stand that it's there is so much antagony. I can't stand anymore to see the way that the media is always putting oil on to fire, so all the time. So it has become very stressy. I mean, people should be aware of being able to talk together, to share things, and to see in a less publicity way of looking at the things, less money and less aggressivity. And also, so this is a bit an ideal for the 5 years. After professionally, I hope I can develop my link to always stick to in an international way, because I love the mix of all this culture and all this point of view, and I love to share. And I have much more pleasure to work with foreign projects than typically French projects, because as soon as you mix your way of working, I don't like too much nationalism, like the pride of being like
I know.
French cinema. It doesn't mean nothing to me. I mean, the world is different than that nowadays. So I think that we should be able to travel also freely. I don't understand why all the goods can travel and people know. It's weird, and that's it. It's much already.
And the last question, as also the typical one, uh, do you feel that you can support indie filmmakers, or for example, people wants to make a movie, they don't have enough budget to hire professional people, but they need good quality to produce a good film. Do you think that
It's to me, it's. I mean, money is important as a as a as a mean. I mean, as as a way to do things, but it's going in and out. I mean, it's technical. The money, it's rather technical. So personally, I'm choosing also much my projects on the basis of what I like. You know, so I could easily, for instance, have been saying no to 16 weeks of shooting of a Netflix series, TV series, because I was able to be involved in the post production of a film I'm doing now, which is very interesting to do. I'm pushing forward this try with this old microphone stuff, so I'm eager to understand exactly how to make the sound, the full sound of the film, on the basis of this reflection. So to be able to be more like a supervisor on films, it's very interesting to me, and and it can be also on very small project. I mean, it's depends on the what I don't like. If to have pretensions and not be able to reach these pretensions after. This is very sad because if you are like committed into a project even without money, uh, but if at the end of it you are not able to make what you were thinking was good for the movie, and you are forced to do something else because of the lack of money or the bad organization or the change of the mind of the director on this is no good. But
you know,
money is not a problem. You can do very good sound with very little money if you are well organized. Huh?
my own experience was that the guy called me. I've got a move. I want to make movie. Can we meet each other? And it was a coffee shop. And he gave me the scenario, the screenplay, and I just read the whole screenplay. It was a short movie, and I really liked it. And I found that this guy just sold his own automobile to
To
invest
make
on to make his movie, to make his film. And he just put his own place, his own house as a main location. And everything was completely based on his own pocket, and he got nothing. And I told him, okay, I take you nothing, just but the gears the gears money for the renting and for my assistant. I
I,
yeah, I
I,
work you as a free.
this is important when you commit.
Yeah, and I really liked working with that guy, because I saw that he's fighting for his dreams. He was fighting for making his
Of course.
movie by everything he had. He had a very
Uh,
small place, and that's why I ask always these typical questions that some professional like you, even maybe sometimes uh, support these kind of India filmmakers. They don't have nothing. They sell their things
or
to make movies.
artists. No, no, you have to do the projects you love. Quoi.
Mhm. That's very
But
kind of you.
let's keep in touch.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you for calling.
it was really lovely conversation I had with you. Okay,
It's
my
okay.
last fantasy is working with you in future for real as your
If
assistant,
you come, if you come
if
to
it's
France, if
possible.
I go to Ireland, I will meet you, of course.
Maybe,
But it's
maybe.
a very interesting thing, because we too have a very good school of boom men, in France. We have very precise boom men, and sometimes we do with the boom that's something that you never see in the world. Because we have this space for working, and people trust the boom man, with the microphone, almost in the frame. So this is also very specific for us. So you
Eh,
should also be able to discuss with a boom man, frankly.
okay, if there was any opportunity working with together, it is my pleasure.
Yet, if I come to Iran, I will get in touch with you. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I,
Have a
I
nice
wish I
day.
could. Bye bye, Payam.
Thank you
Goodbye.
very much for. Bye bye.
Goodbye.